Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex. This is Big Baby Reviews. Check out my comics, Big Baby and Star Crasher at KingComics.CA. Check out my YouTube videos, KingComics2021 is the channel. Check out my Instagram, MaximusRex13. Check out my Facebook, MaxRex and or Big Baby. So guys, today it is Dale Keown Day. We're looking at PITT, the next issue. This is number 10, January 1995. The first issue from Full Bleed Studios. So at some point, Dale Keown and Image Comics part ways, and he continues the series through his own studio called Full Bleed. Still very Joe Scioto kind of inspired colors on the cover here. Blue, orange, lots of it. Keown draws. Dan Panosian is the inker on the cover and also on the inside for this issue. I'll talk a little bit more about that once we crack it open. But a good preview of what we're going to see. Some more extreme hatching, and Panosian really, I think, works well with Dale Keown. You'll see a lot of that on the inside. Slightly more angular look maybe with Dan Panosian, but he does go at it with a slightly thicker line overall as well, and it makes everything kind of chunkier. I don't hate it. I kind of like both things. It's not exactly like when Dale Keown inks himself, but I feel like it creates something, again, slightly different from both artists that works really well as that, those occasional combinations of penciler and inker that create we'll call it like a third artist, you know what I mean? So definitely a fun issue here. Very animated and bouncy, and just more so than before with Dale Keown. There's an extra added kind of bounciness to it, I guess is the best way I can describe it. So first issue from Full Bleed, Dale Keown does the pencils and the story. So the script from page 1 to 4 was Steve Gerber. And then page 4 to 23 is Dale Keown. So did, Steve Gerber stop writing in the middle of page 4? Kind of an odd thing. Had to credit him because he wrote those first few pages. Not exactly sure what happened there either. So Steve Gerber didn't hang around for a long time. Unless I'm mistaken, he's maybe in the next issue. Guess we'll find out when I review that one. Ollie Optics do the color separations. Dan Panosian inks. As I mentioned before, Calligraphics film output, whatever that means. Steve Olive, Quinn Suppley, color guides. Ronald's Quebecois film output credits and letters pages. A lot of weird different things in the credits. I'm not exactly sure who all these people are and what they're doing when it comes to the colors, this film output. I'm not quite sure. Chris Eliopoulos, though, is still lettering. So back to where we were with last issue. And Timmy and PITT, as I've read through here, have basically been frozen in this kind of position here since last issue and haven't moved. So people are kind of worried. The cops are there and stuff. And of course, we're going to get a glimpse as to what's actually going on. There's some sort of weird kind of telepathic mind meld. They're in some other dimension in their minds or something. And that's where basically PITT and Timmy are kind of squaring off. Timmy's very angry at PITT, right? And here's where you can see where I feel like Panosian does a really good job on top of Dale Keown, but he does definitely use thicker lines. I do recognize, again, I've mentioned when Panosian inks, even his artwork that he does today, which is amazing, and definitely I would say more realistic generally in its depiction of characters and textures and stuff, his line is somewhat similar. It's like I recognize his line. The movement of it hasn't changed really. He's just using it to different effect with his artwork today, and it's go look at Dan Panosian's modern stuff. It's amazing. And I just got to throw it out for this whole sequence here. First of all, the coloring, even though it's not Joe Scioto anymore, definitely following, again, the blue and orange kind of vibe that Pitt's had all this time. And here's where I feel like the inks just, the rendering and the layout is already super dynamic. And it from far away, maybe it seems a little hard to follow, but it isn't. The colors are a bit dark, but it's pretty clear overall what's happening. The reading direction, pretty easy to follow. And like I said, when we get stuff like this, it just feels like the inking is an extra kind of level above the regular Dale Keown as far as the intensity of it and the movement and stuff it creates. It's hard to describe, but there's just such movement in this line. Yeah, this whole sequence is really out there, really fucking crazy. It continues here, right? And the dramatic lighting on this page, the uplighting all the way throughout, I think is really kind of well done and clever. This shot of Timmy here, just how creepy is that? This kid with huge kind of pit claws, right? And all these visual cues, they might seem kind of gratuitous and stuff, but they're leading to a revelation that'll make sense once we get to it, right? So Timmy kind of rips through Pitt's chest here in this transcendental world. And basically what happens is Zoivod pops out. A bunch of different Zoivods, right? and explains to Timmy, you should be more respectful, excuse me. So is that any way to speak to your twin brother? And Pitt gets mad. Stop this. It was meant for me to tell him, you know. So Zoivod has revealed to Timmy that he and Pitt are actually twin brothers, as odd as that may seem. If you remember from last issue's review, I'm assuming that we know now that Timmy was the other twin that stayed behind in the mother's womb, and Pitt is the twin that was taken away by the aliens, by the Creed, right? So now they've, you know, Timmy knows that they're brothers. And I don't think Pitt reveals that to Grandpa just quite yet. This page I thought was just, unfortunately, it's a great image and layout and stuff, but the reading direction was a bit confusing to me. I tend to, you know, start up here, and I kind of went like this, read this, and then realized, oh no, we're actually meant to start reading here. So I don't know, you know, if the just the word balloon placement could have been like this stuff kind of moved up here and that one moved down there, just to... Sometimes when the art doesn't necessarily go in the direction maybe it's meant to go, the word balloons can be placed to rectify that to a certain extent, or at least mask it a little bit and help the eye along. In this case, like I said, I do feel like, you know, whoever was the letterer should have figured something out. The only, you know, it's a tough situation, but what I think a good solution would be is put this somewhere around here. It would probably fit here and here, right? And just make sure this one's lower than that. So if you're here, bring that one down here. Unfortunately, you got to cover up these faces here, but what are you going to do? At least reading direction-wise, you're not as confused as I was. School's out then, so Timmy gets in the truck with his grandpa and they drive off. The bullies, though, funny enough, I'm like, they're still laughing at him and calling him freak boy and stuff. Kind of surprising. You would think if someone had telepathically, you know, had you levitate and could have dropped you and killed you, that you would continue to bully him. That's kind of an odd choice. And there's something, again, in the inking and the rendering of these pages here that's a little more Pinozian than Dale Keown in certain instances. Maybe in like just the finish and the texture and the water here and the contour lines that I really like. At the time, maybe a little bit earlier, Dan Pinozian did the early issues of Prophet for Rob Liefeld. And like I said, that's where I see kind of a kinship in the lines and the inking. And again, that I think work really well on top of Dale Keown. Gives his work a slightly chunkier kind of quality, but doesn't, you know, shortchange the Dale Keown pencils underneath at all. There's the dog again. So this guy, this is a recurring character. This pit bull, right? Runs off, comes back to Pitt. So another hunter trying to shoot this dog, and Pitt taking care of him. I gotta say, it's a little bit much here where he skip, and then wham into this piece of tree here. So I would venture to say this guy's probably dead, right? Pitt killed him. I don't think that's what's meant to be evoked there, but I mean, look at the size of this guy. Dale Keown likes the back shot of Pitt. He draws that a lot. It's cool though, he does it well. So we've got our little bully boy here at the arcade. Some creepy guy watching him. And creepy guy then invites both of these kids, you know. Hey guys, over, because it's raining, right? Oh, perfect, it's pouring. Hey guys, over here, want a lift? We shouldn't do this, man. What can he do? There's two of us. I assume that's leading to nowhere good, but we're going to find out hopefully in the next few issues. Pitt walks up to Grandpa's trailer park. Asks if Timmy's okay sleeping. But he's like, Grandpa's like, you can't sleep in here. And anyway, I don't think Pitt would fit inside in any way, shape, or form. But he's asking for a bit of shelter for the dog here. So Grandpa technically is also Pitt's grandpa, even though he doesn't know it. You can sleep in the barn if you'd like. I sleep where I want. Fine. And now, just like I mentioned last review, I think, where Spawn and the alleyways where Spawn goes to mope, Pitt goes to the forest. That's where Pitt goes to be emo and mope, and just kind of sitting there looking at the storm, being mopey. And all of a sudden, you know, some lightning here kind of attacks him, I guess. And then all around him, obviously someone's coming, something's happening. And we're introduced to this guy here. I know that voice. Pitt says, you! And we obviously are not going to know who you is until next issue. Don't get up. I've come a long way for you, PITT. So it's always guys coming for PITT, right? And there's that trope as well. It's always just big monsters coming for PITT, which I'm totally down for. I got to say, PITT is a pretty enjoyable series overall. Reading, you know, instead of waiting months and months between issue and just reading it fairly regularly, you know, it's fun. It's a fun series, and I've said it before. I think maybe the second or third best written series. Spawn was not very good writing wise, but you know, at least consistent. But I still think maybe PITT is just more. It's a shorter run, but it's more fun, and is, you know, Spawn really would stretch out storylines where PITT's kind of going somewhere. And you know, it's given me everything I kind of like. Big monsters fighting each other almost every issue, pretty much every issue. And an ongoing storyline that is advancing and you know, introducing new characters and bringing the character of PITT forward. I mean, we're at issue 10 now, and I mean, we have, as opposed to a lot of Image characters, we have started to learn an actual kind of origin of PITT, right? And slowly and surely that story's kind of unraveling, and I do find it somewhat interesting because, again, we're really in the issues now that I did not read back in the day, and I'm reading for the first time, and I gotta say, it's pretty entertaining. It's pretty fun. Again, top 3 of the Image series, I would say. Spawn, Savage Dragon, and PITT. At least early 90s Image, right? And also just saw this real quick. Full Bleed PITT trade paperback. If anyone out there knows about it, is it worth having? Let me know in the comments. Is there any extra material I need to see, or is it basically just a reprint of the earlier issues? I've seen it around. It is kind of available, though kind of rare and kind of expensive, so I wouldn't want to buy it for nothing if there's literally nothing new in it that might be of interest. So there you go, guys. That is my review today for PITT issue number 10. First issue from Full Bleed Studios. Some great kind of variation artwork instead of, you know, Dale Keane inking himself, being inked by Dan Panosian, creates a nice kind of hybrid between the two, and I think looks awesome. So again, PITT, great series, definitely recommend it, and looking forward to reading the next issues and moving the story along. So guys, if you're still subscribed and you're still watching, thank you for your patience and thank you for sticking around. If you are not subscribed but you are watching the videos, please subscribe down below. It takes only about a second for you. Really helps the channel out, helps get us out there to other like-minded people who are into comic books just like we are. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much and have an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.